Hey everybody, how's it going? We are back with our first video of 2025, and today I wanted to focus a little bit on something that's kind of sad that happened at the end of 2024. It was the end of Friday the 13th, the game. This has been my favorite game for a very long time, so it was a very sad day when this ended. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about this game and its impact, so let's get into it. So what can I say about Friday the 13th, the game? I can tell you that this has been the most fun game I think I've ever played, and probably for the longest length of time. Because I got this in October of 2017, played it straight through. I was playing the night that it went offline. It was December 31st at 10:06 Standard Mountain Time. Just down it went. I was in the middle of a match. I was part 8 Jason, Manhattan Jason as I like to call him for this particular round. And yeah, I had half the counselors. And yeah, there was probably, I don't know, maybe there was like 3 left or something. I forget, maybe 4. But I was chasing AJ at the time, and all of a sudden, just poof, it went offline. And all of a sudden there wasn't an option to go back online. It was over, and right then I knew that was it. And I realized my time zone sucked for that because you know, it was supposed to end midnight, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I have till midnight. No, I had until 10, and I got an extra 6 minutes. So anyway, as I said, I got the game in October of 2017. I didn't really know it was coming until about a week or 2 prior to that, so I didn't get on it super early. I just didn't know. You know, it was a different time in my life. It was 2017. Like my oldest, my son was about 9 years old. Probably 9.5, I guess. Which, oddly enough, is about around the time where I became a big fan of horror. You know, like it was 1986, and Freddy's Revenge, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, had just came out. I think it was November of '85. So it had just come out to rent on video somewhere in that spring summer area. So I was 9 or 10 when he was allowed to rent it, believe it or not. He was a whole year older than me, so his parents let him rent it, which was really cool. But that's how I got into it, is we rented 1 and 2, and we watched them both. And yeah, after that I never looked back. I was hooked. I thought it was really cool, and Freddy was really scary too, so very cool. But anyway, that was the age that I basically broke into it and became a fan and really started to enjoy those kind of movies, you know. So here it was, my son was around that age, and this game was dropping, and I had to have it, of course. So I'm playing it, and we of course game share on the Xbox or whatever, so he had it too, and he decided he wanted to try playing it. He loved it, you know. He had a great time with it, and of course, because the game had come out, I thought, well, I was this age. I mean, maybe you know, you're interested in knowing more about the story and Jason and everything, and he totally was. So it's sort of what kickstarted my son's interest in the, you know, the slasher and the horror genre, because it's something that he really enjoys too. I don't know if it's his favorite or not, but he is a fan. So we played it a lot together, actually, for the first few years. So it was sort of a bonding thing for us, which was really cool. So this game meant a lot to me. It's just a really fun game to play. I mean, you get to either be Jason or you get to be a counselor. There's a whole bunch of different counselors you can be. There's ways you can kill Jason. It's a little complicated, sort of, at first maybe, but you can do that. You can escape via the car or a boat sometimes, or if the cops come, if you can call the cops and make it to whatever exit gate they happen to be parked at, then you can get away as well from Jason, or he'll find you and kill you. And of course you can be one or the other. Well, when this game went offline, of course, you cannot play as a counselor anymore. because the offline mode is just strictly Jason. You choose your Jason, choose your map and how many counselors, and you can play on easy, normal, or hard. And that's about it for your options. But when everything disappeared that night and we went offline, of course we can no longer get any matches because the servers are gone. So it was only offline mode, but they took away all of the Jasons that everybody had unlocked. Like I had everyone that was available on console anyway unlocked. You know, you have 2 all the way up to Jason Goes to Hell, basically 9, I guess it is. And you had Savini Jason too, if you were lucky enough to get him, which I was, which is really cool because he's a very cool Jason. But they took everything away, so they only left you with your starting Jasons you get from Dead Scratch, which is part 3 and part 5. And you know, part 5 of course is Roy, and that's who he is under there. So really it's only one Jason you have access to, which is 3. Unless you had Savini Jason, your Savini Jason is still there. So what I mean by Savini Jason is it was designed by, of course, Tom Savini, special effects makeup artist extraordinaire, super famous guy, did all sorts of awesome work over the years, probably one of the most well-known in the entire industry. Anyway, he designed this Jason, and it was available to backers of the game early on, and for a short time it was available in the Microsoft store to buy, and people were pretty upset about that, so it got yanked after a short while in the store. I think it was $5 or something like that. But a few people got lucky and got it real quick, and then it got yanked out of there. So Savini is hard to get. Some people would game share to get it as well. But that was, you know, the only way you could get him. But unfortunately, all of these other Jasons are gone now, so people are pretty pissed off about that because these are things that were unlocked and already in the whole arsenal. And some of these packages you had to buy, like kill packages that had different kills with particular weapons and different outfits for the counselors. All that stuff, I guess, the access to it, of course, is gone because you can't use counselors at all. There's no offline mode where the computer is Jason, if you know what I mean. So it's kind of left people in a real shitty spot. So yeah, it's kind of depressing because it was a game that I like to play a lot, and there have been a lot of good horror games that have come out since. But honestly, nothing's touched it, in my opinion. Like, Dead by Daylight is a game that came out in the ballpark of that same time, maybe a year or so before. I forget, maybe 2016. I forget. But it's a fun game. The concept of it I'm not super big on. Like, when you catch your victim and you have to hang them on this hook on a tree, and it's like they get sacrificed to some kind of tree god or something. I don't know. Anyway, it's not a bad game, like I said, and they have all sorts of cool licensing where they have pretty much every slasher you can think of has been on Dead by Daylight. Well, except Jason, that is, of course, because he had the licensing here with Gunn and Ilphonic, I guess, that made this game. But like I said, the licensing rights were sold, and it's pretty obvious it went to a new game maker with Harry Manfredini's information that dropped. So a lot of people don't realize that he had said back in 2023 he's working on a new Friday the 13th game, doing the scoring as usual, all the music. So he mentioned he was working on that, and it's a different kind of game than this one was, so I don't know if it's going to be any good or not. Because, like I said, there's been lots of great horror games that have come out, but they're just not the same. You know, like we've had Evil Dead, really good game. It's fun and everything. The playability fun factor I think is still much higher with Friday the 13th. It's more fun to play. We've also seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was Gun Media's next game after this. I do like that one. That one is fun. A bit of a skill gap there for people that, you know, are regulars. They, if they're the killers, they're going to kill you real fast. If you don't know how to get away, you really have to play a lot to get used to getting better, and it'll be brutal for a while. That's the only thing that's tough. So I like to be a killer, because then if they get away, I'm whatever, you know, and usually they get away, because I don't play Texas nearly as much as I'd like to. don't have a lot of people online that I really play with. So yeah, I always stuck to Friday because it was one of my better games I was pretty good at. And yeah, Texas, although good, just isn't quite there, you know. The other one that came out recently is Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and that's a fun game, and it's visually really cool to look at. So it's stimulating for a while, but again, it doesn't have that same fun factor Friday does, and that excitement, the simplicity of it. I think that formula is really good, and since its release, I've really wanted to see a Halloween version, you know, where you have different Michael Myers from, you know, the films, like the look of, you know, 4, 1, 2, the Blumhouse ones, you know, whatever. And then you have some various maps or whatever, and you have, you know, survivors who are probably loosely based on some of the movie characters, kind of like they were in Friday. I think that could be a real winner and a real fun game for online play. And with a new engine or something, like this one was made with the Unreal Engine 4, I believe it is. But 5 is apparently supposed to be pretty impressive, so it would be cool to try a game with that kind of a formula with something like Halloween. I thought that would be awesome. And we do know there is another Halloween game that is coming, besides that Retro Realms one that is sort of a 16-bit game. I mentioned that before, that they are coming out with something, but there's very little details known about what it's going to actually be. So we know there is a Halloween game coming, there's a new Friday game coming, but like I said, my hopes aren't super high that it's going to be as good as this one. I wish there was a way they could bring this back, but just with the way everything unfolded, I don't think it's ever going to be able to happen, unfortunately. Really, it was the lawsuit that screwed up Friday the 13th, the game. When the lawsuit happened and Victor Miller took on Horror Inc., aka Sean Cunningham, they had this huge legal battle, and while this was going on for years, the developers were not allowed to change anything on the game. Like, they were legally frozen. Like, the way they described it is they couldn't put a tree on a map or change anything. It was literally illegal for them to do any of that, so they just had to stop. And then they were stuck in this limbo waiting, hoping it was going to end real soon, while everything just sat, because they wanted to be able to offer different game modes, eventually different counselors, different Jasons. Like, they were supposed to have Jason X in the game. We never got Jason X. If you look on PC versions, there have been, you know, patches made by, you know, fans and individual people that have modded them to finish the game and get access to the Grendel map. That's the, you know, the spaceship, basically, from Jason X. And, of course, Jason X, the killer, as well. So, that's the cool thing about PC is, you know, a lot of that stuff was finished, although it wasn't by the original game makers because they couldn't do it legally, like I said. So the lawsuit kept all that stuff frozen, prevented everybody from, you know, enjoying the game, and stopped its growth, which is just a shame. Like I said, it's a really, really fun game. So that kind of killed it. And then by the time the lawsuit ended, Gunn had already announced, probably the previous year, that they were no longer working on the game and they had to move on to new things, and that was basically the end of it. And this is what it is for now, and that's it. And then you know, the lawsuit ends, and everybody thought, oh, are they going to keep working on the game? And no, because they had already announced before that they were giving up. So some people missed that. And we're again disappointed that it wasn't going to be updated or anything was going to be happening with it. So kind of disappointing there. So yeah, ultimately the lawsuit didn't ruin it. And then more time went by, you know, and they somehow worked something out where they could sell the rights for some things. So whoever owned the licensing, whether it's Miller or Horror Inc. for whatever project they were doing, they've obviously sold the rights for a new game. And as of 2025, it was no longer something that could be used by these guys at all. So they legally had to shut it down at the end of the year. And that's really what happened. And it's too bad too, because the response when it went offline was huge. Like they were saying, they've never had so many posts about it and comments, and it blew away anything they'd ever posted before. So, and then they put something on there about hopefully we have a surprise coming in 2025, you know, and people were getting kind of excited about it, and I thought, well, that's got to be the, you know, announcing that there will be a new game of some kind, because Harry Manfredini already did that. I don't know if he got in trouble for that, but he basically admitted that was already happening. So I'm guessing that's what they're talking about, and I guess they're hoping not everybody knows, but many of us that follow closely already know that. So we're looking forward to seeing what this new game is going to be like. But again, I don't think it is going to be as good as this. Yeah, so it's just kind of a disappointing beginning to the year. I have another copy here actually too. This is the Ultimate Slasher Edition. I picked up a second one because I wanted another disc copy, a hard copy, rather than the digital copy that I have on my machine and my Series X, the Xbox One. The kids have it on theirs. Yeah, it was one I got several times, but the first one I got was this one, and this is the one that we took back in 2019 when we met Kane Hodder, and he signed the top of this to my son, Kane Hodder, and he put Jason. Did he put all of them on here or not? I can't even tell. The writing is so hard to see there. No, he just wrote Jason. But yeah, he was nice enough to sign that for him, so this is basically his copy now, of course, so I had to get a second copy so that I had one to play in case it ever disappeared digitally, and of course, ultimately it did. You can't even buy the game anymore. The only way you can get it now is the actual hard disk, so you'd have to buy a copy, and of course now you can only play offline. Now, there is another little thing that I wanted to let you know about with Xbox users. Some of you, if you have a Series X and you've been playing on, may be hung up on your main screen when you go to play offline. The cursor in the menu will not move. It's just not there. So as soon as you go to the screen, it doesn't do anything, and it's just totally dead. So, a very disappointing thing, and it took a few days to figure out, but there is a workaround for it, and I'm going to tell you about that in a second. But in the meantime, the PlayStation version offline still worked fine, the PC offline, and I believe on the Switch. So it was only the Series X that was getting hung up, or Xboxes anyway, because mine was doing it on my One as well. Some people reported they could get in on their One, but anyway, if you're having trouble with it, when you load onto your page and you press A to play, and it says you have to play offline, so then you press, I think it's Y or something to go into play offline, and then it says, do you want to proceed? You're not going to be making any points, blah, 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 and it asks you to press A. Don't press A yet. Hold down on your D-pad for about 3 seconds or so, but keep holding it down, and then press A, and it should kick your cursor back, and it should show up. So it's something that I found online. A few people have already posted it. It's probably old news to people who really, really want to play, but that is the way around it. So again, when you're at that screen where it asks you if you want to proceed, even though you're not going to be getting experience points, hold down that D-pad for about 3 seconds. Keep it held down. Hit A. It should pop your cursor loose. If it doesn't work, just try it again. Eventually it will, and you'll be able to at least play offline. But again, only part 5, Jason, excuse me, just 3 and 5. So Roy and the OG part 3 and the hockey mask. So that's pretty much it. I mean, unless you have Savini, you'll have him as well. I do have those 3. Also, if you had custom settings on your Jasons, like for example, part 3, when he starts out, he has an axe. Well, I had the machete with my particular 3, with my setup. I gave him the machete, and I gave him some custom kills that, again, you can't select anymore, but because I had those selected, those are saved on there, so whenever I use 3, he has the machete. I can't change the weapon if I wanted to, so he has a machete. And, excuse me, 2 of the kills on there are specialty ones that I had. So those are permanently on there, which is kind of cool. The part 5 Jason came with shears, as you know from that one scene with Deborah Voorhees, the actress with the really pretty eyes. She got stabbed in those eyes with the shears by Roy, and that was his weapon. And it was kind of a lame weapon. You didn't see a lot of people using it, maybe unless they were low level and didn't have their weapons leveled up. But anyway, I had the fence spear with Part 5, which was the Part 6 weapon, as you know, from Jason Lives, of course. I always liked using a machete with him as well. I never really used the fence spear too much, occasionally. But I had it on my Roy, just it's got good reach, but it's a weird weapon to use, so I have that permanently on my Part 5 now. So that's kind of a weird setup, but I do have 2 specialty kills on there as well. I usually put a couple on. And my Savini Jason comes with a pitchfork. I do not have that pitchfork. I can't even change it to that if I wanted to. Like I said, I have it on the great big meat cleaver that Part 4 has. So all 3 of my Jasons that I use all have custom weapons that don't even come with them, and that's just what I have now because that's my particular setup. So that's sort of how it is for everybody. One more thing, there is some recent news with PlayStation and PC now, I hear, is there is a way around where you can actually still play the game. Now, PCs have, like I said, some modded versions that are out there that have finished maps, extra counselors. It looks like a blast to play. I, of course, don't have PC, so I can't try it, but there is a way you can still play online. They've found some kind of recent workaround. I don't know too much about it, but as for the PlayStation, there is a way where you can enter a specific bunch of details and hook up to a server that will still allow you to play. There's sort of a backdoor workaround out there. You have to sort of look online for it. Like if you were to look up how to play Friday the 13th on PlayStation 2025, you'll probably find it. But unfortunately, I don't have a PlayStation, so I would seriously contemplate it if this thing is going to keep working and they're not going to patch anything or try to get rid of it. I may consider getting an older, PS4 or something, or something like that, just to be able to keep playing, because it would be really cool to still play as a counselor. Because, like I said, this game was awesome, and like I said, it kick-started my son into the horror genre right around the same age I was, and yeah, it means a lot. It was a super fun game, and it was a game, like I said, I was good at. Nowadays, I'm not very good at video games. Like, I used to be great, being a Gen Xer, we were basically the founding kids of video games, like when we were little, they started, like I have an older brother and sister that started with like an Atari, so I was exposed to that right away, but I grew up in the Nintendo, Sega Genesis era, and then of course PlayStation. I had the first 3 of those before I switched to Xbox, because I was a bit of a car nut, so I went to the Forza series for Xbox, because I felt the cars were more balanced than the Gran Turismo Sony stuff. So that's sort of how I switched. I was always a PlayStation guy, but I might have to go for a PlayStation if I want to keep playing this game, because it's a lot of fun. But ultimately, if I really want to enjoy it, I should just get a PC and try playing that modded version, because that sounds like a lot of fun. So maybe that's something that'll happen down the road. But to kick off 2025, it was a bit of a bummer to hear about Friday the 13th. Well, not hear about it, but to have it end. I knew it was ending all year long, and for a while I believed that we would still be able to play private matches offline, because you could play a private match where you were the host off your machine and people could hook up to you. So I thought that was in play. People told me, oh, you'll still be able to play private matches. And I thought, well, that's not so bad. At least if you know people that have the game, you can invite them and play. No. You cannot do that at all. That's totally dead, unless you have this backdoor way to play with PlayStation. Otherwise, if you're on Switch or you're on an Xbox, you're kind of SOL for playing online. So unless they patch that PlayStation thing, like I said, they're good, and PC, you'll always find a way around eventually. So that's pretty much the future of it. again, it's too bad. It was such a fun game, so I am sad to see that go. But it sounds like their hands are tied with it. And I don't think they expected the game to be as popular as it was, because it wasn't super polished. It had its bugs. There were a lot of problems early on, with people cheating, and like counselors used to be able to hurt each other. Like if you had a shotgun, you could just shoot one of the counselors and kill them, and people were doing stuff like that, so they stopped that from happening. But you could still always run people over with the car, which was still a problem too. Is some people would come into the game, get the car, and just be a jerk, or they would team with Jason. That kind of stuff happens with every game. But overall, it was just such a blast to play. I'm really going to miss the game. So I guess we'll see what the future brings. But I might have a PS4 or something in my future just so I can play it once in a while, or maybe I'll figure out a way to have it run on a reasonably priced used PC system or something that I can figure out one day. But other than that, I think that is it for Friday the 13th. It's kind of too bad. Even wearing my Savini Jason shirt today here. This is kind of an oldie I picked up many years back. It's from Monster Heel. That's London 1888 again. Yeah, cool design. That's Savini Jason taking out Tommy with his pitchfork. Tom Savini's design. He's a cool Jason. He's definitely really good. Slow as hell in the water though. Whew. Terribly slow in the water. But that shift, it's crazy. Craziness. Anyway, totally gonna miss Friday the 13th, the game. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about it a little bit because it was a big deal in my life, and it sort of launched my kids into the horror genre. And yeah, I'm just sad to see it go. In the meantime, there will be a few other videos coming soon. I have another pickups video to do. I also have that Retro Realms comparison of the two packages that I got of the physical copies of that game. I want to open those up on camera and show you guys the differences and stuff, just so you get an idea. And yeah, like I said, a pickups video as well will be in the not too distant future. But that is it for now, guys. I appreciate you watching as always. You guys take care, and we'll see you again for another one.